Today, we are going to unravel a story that connects two moments in history that feel, well, worlds apart. We're talking about the brutal destruction of a great city and the incredible dawn of the Renaissance. It's a story about how, paradoxically, destruction can sometimes be the very thing that preserves knowledge. Just try to picture that for a second. A river, but it's not flowing with water, it's flowing with ink and blood. This isn't something out of a fantasy epic. No, this was the very real scene at the Tigris River. A single, catastrophic event that would literally redraw the intellectual map of the world. The year was 1258. The city was Baghdad, and at that time, it was the thriving, beating heart of the Islamic Golden Age. But on the horizon, an unstoppable force was gathering, the Mongol army, led by none other than Hulegu Khan. I mean, the sheer scale of the devastation is it's hard to wrap your head around. For 7 straight days, the city was just systematically torn apart. Its people, slaughtered. Its grand mosques, hospitals, palaces, all razed to the ground. This one singular, brutal week brought the 500-year reign of the Abbasid Caliphate to a crashing, violent end. And with it, the Islamic Golden Age was over. Okay, now let's hit pause and jump forward in time. We're also shifting our focus way over to Europe. A couple of centuries later, the entire continent just explodes in this cultural and scientific rebirth that, we call the Renaissance, a time of brilliant enlightenment, unbelievable innovation, and rediscovery. On the surface, you couldn't find two more different events. So this leads us to the big question, right? How on earth could one of the worst acts of cultural destruction in history possibly lead to a new age of enlightenment somewhere else? It seems like a total contradiction. But the answer, well, it lies in understanding not just what was lost, but what had already gotten away. To solve this mystery, we really have to get what made Baghdad the intellectual capital of the entire planet. And at its very core was this unbelievable institution, the House of Wisdom. The House of Wisdom, or Beit al-Hikmah, it was so much more than just a library. You should think of it as like a national library, a world-class university, and a cutting-edge research institute all rolled into one. It was basically a magnet for the most brilliant minds of the era. And what was happening inside those walls was a full-blown revolution. Scholars there started by translating all this vast knowledge from the ancient world, from Greek, Persian, Indian texts, and bringing it all into Arabic. But, and this is the key, they didn't just stop there. They weren't just preserving old knowledge. They were actively creating new knowledge. They took a look at Aristotle and challenged him. They corrected Euclid. They pioneered completely new fields like algebra. They came up with advanced surgical techniques and made these incredible, groundbreaking discoveries in optics. For 500 years, this was the engine driving human progress. This quote from the Mediterranean Journal of Social Sciences just nails it. The House of Wisdom was a bridge, a conduit, connecting the wisdom of the past to the future. It wasn't just hoarding knowledge, it was transmitting it. But that bridge, it turns out, didn't just point in one direction. You see, while Baghdad was the engine room, all that incredible knowledge it was pumping out had actually been leaking out for centuries. It was flowing along a totally different path, a kind of secret conduit, right into the heart of a still sleeping Europe. So here's how it worked. For centuries before the Mongols even showed up, manuscripts from Baghdad were making their way west, across North Africa and into Islamic Spain, which was known as Al-Andalus. And there, in cities like Toledo, a new generation of scholars, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim, all worked together, translating these revolutionary Arabic texts into Latin, which was the language of European scholarship. And this is the crucial insight. The intellectual treasure of the Islamic Golden Age wasn't locked away in some single vault in Baghdad. It had already been decentralized. Copies were already circulating, seeding the libraries and the brand new universities of Europe long before the Mongols were even a threat. Okay, so let's connect the dots. Let's see how this absolute disaster in the East created this unique, almost explosive opportunity in the West. So take a look at this timeline. The translation movement in Spain really kicked off around 1085. That's nearly 200 years before Baghdad fell in 1258. The pipeline was already built and it was already flowing. The intellectual seeds, they were already planted deep in European soil. This really lays out the dynamic perfectly, doesn't it? For half a millennium, Baghdad was this powerful intellectual engine. And at the same time, places like Toledo were the conduit, translating all that knowledge for a brand new audience. And this is the paradox at the very heart of our story. When the Mongols destroyed Baghdad, they didn't erase all this knowledge from existence. What they did was they turned off the source. The engine was smashed. And all of a sudden, that torrent of new ideas from the East was cut off. And the copies, the translations that were already safe in Europe, they went from being secondary sources to being the only sources. They became infinitely precious. This bit of historical analysis adds some really crucial nuance. The fall of Baghdad wasn't some event that set humanity back hundreds of years. The knowledge was already too widespread for that to happen. What it did instead was cause this fundamental shift in the world's intellectual center of gravity, away from the Tigris River and toward the new universities of Bologna, Paris, and Oxford. And this whole story, this incredible shift in the world's intellectual center, it raises a question that is, you have to admit, incredibly relevant for us right now. Think about it. We've basically replaced physical libraries with digital servers and cloud storage. We all feel like our knowledge is safer than it's ever been. But is it? Is our digital house of wisdom really more resilient than Baghdad's was? Or is it maybe concentrated in ways that make it even more vulnerable to some kind of modern-day Mongol horde? So when you look at it, the fall of Baghdad and the rise of the Renaissance teaches us that history just isn't a straight line. The destruction of one incredible intellectual center didn't end the story of knowledge. It just rerouted it. And that proves that ideas can be remarkably resilient, always finding new ground to grow in, even from the ashes of a disaster. The story of knowledge is one of both terrible fragility and incredible resilience. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep questioning the connections that shape our world.